All right, Craig, so we've known each other now since 2003.
I wish I had the original email. I think it was when you actually started your website. You sent me an email. Like, I don't think we'd ever communicated before.
Right.
You sent this email and said, hey, I just started this website, jasonferrugia.com. But my first introduction to you was on the Elite Fitness Forum. Where you either had a little call, like, did you have a Q&A?
I had a Q&A, the sports-specific Q&A every week.
And the one thing, so I was training with this guy, Anthony Belza, so shout out to this Anthony Belza guy. He used to be a strength coach in the National Hockey League. And he and I would, he's my training partner, and we were personal trainers at the same gym. And we'd go home and we'd read, like, Jim Wendler's Elite thing, and then yours. And we both came in, like, on a Monday, and we said, did you read that thing, like, Ferrugia, about, it was about some New Year's Eve party you went to. And you, like, were 7 sheets to the wind, you on vodka and Red Bull, and you were talking to a cougar, and then you went to dunk a ball and you sprained your ankle. Yeah. And we were both like, we got to meet this guy. And sure enough, so then we connected probably around 2003, and then it was Seinfeld jokes and Pearl Jam references until 2006 when we met in person.
And then I picked you up at the Newark airport.
And we went to Burger King in your Ford Explorer. And then we went to Ryan Lee's thing.
To Ryan Lee's boot camp, that was the first time we ever hung out. You know, we were talking last night, and you said if we could go back to that moment, 2006.
Right, that exact moment. In that car ride. Two people completely different than now. Yeah, for sure.
In many ways.
So I'm 31, you're 32 at that point. Okay. Which is way too old to, like, we should give advice to our younger selves. Right. We're 30 years old. Right. Like, we shouldn't really need too much advice at that point.
I certainly did.
Yeah, we did.
I take pride in the fact that I feel like I've pushed myself really hard over those years to grow. I always say that about you. As much as anyone I've ever known, you have pushed yourself. But let's hypothetically.
But I will also say that it's hard to remember the old Jay. Like, it's hard for me to remember that, because I think I saw all the stuff that you are now. That's like all I remember. Yeah. And I saw that in you, which is why, you know, a lot of people liked you. And I don't think I was ever really around for a lot of the negative stuff. Yeah. And then we also have selective memories of that. Like, if you go back and you say, remember that marathon you ran? Like, you don't really remember how painful it was. You remember, like, I finished it and I did this and you know, that moment at mile 14. Like, you only remember the good stuff. So that's why it's hard. And I think maybe Alvino would be able to say different, who's known you forever, but it's hard for me to remember, like, when Jay was not this Jay, and it's hard for me to imagine even that there was not another Jay, because now you got all of the stuff that you're going on. So that, like, but that's the same way I am with this Carrie Wilkerson lady, if you ever met her. Yep. Like, she was once overweight, in debt, and now she's a speaker in front of 25,000 people, and you're like, it's hard to imagine you as that. Yeah. And so that's the same way that anybody should be looking at their life in 5 years, 3 years, heck, even a year from now. You should be able to look back and go, I can't believe I was like that. Yeah. And people are like, man, it's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, anyone can improve their lives dramatically and change dramatically. Like, for example, our mutual friend Luca. I just said to Luca, last time he was out, I said, man, I got to give you a compliment. Your ability to tell a story and your comedic timing is exponentially better than it was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And he's like, man, that's the best compliment I've ever gotten in my life. That's great. But he's worked on it, you know, he's worked on it so much. I think it's having that awareness of seeing in other people, oh, I like that he does that. Sure. Like, there's so many things that you do well that I'm like, oh, I like that. I wish I could do that better, you know, and just being aware of it and then flipping the switch and trying to focus on it.
Yeah, and so finding stuff to model in other people. So everybody says don't ever compare yourselves to others. I actually think, like, in some ways you should. Like, like, if you want to be a speaker and you look at Brendan Burchard and you should go, okay, well, here's my energy levels compared to his. Right. Well, you should compare yourself to. Totally. You should compare yourself to model people, not what you have materialistically, but the traits. And so essentially, modeling somebody is comparing yourself to them, whether it's in lifting stance or whether it is in comedic timing, or with girls or whatever it is.
So if we go back to that car, let's say, what would you say? Because we are very different, even though we were in our early 30s at the time.
Yeah, I would say that, okay, listen, you don't need to binge drink anymore. You're smart enough, you're intelligent enough to hold conversations and be interested in people, and you don't need to go and drink so much that you don't remember, you don't feel well, or all that sort of stuff. So that's just ridiculous. At that age, you got to cut that off. Second thing is actually be interested in people. Just
Yeah.
go and ask questions and sit there and listen. And you know what? Yeah, some people are going to be boring as heck.
Yep.
But that also builds your ability to withstand boringness, which will serve you.
You've greatly improved. Years ago, you could not tolerate that well.
I was walking out of a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
So that, and then be prepared to like, okay, listen, I'm going to go to this event. I know I'm going to this event. I can either rely on the crutch of alcohol, but don't rely on the crutch of alcohol. Instead, like, think about, okay, here are all these people. Here's what they want out of this event. Go and help them get that out of this event. That's what I would. Those are some of the many things. Over to you.
Yeah, I to dovetail on that, I like what you said there about help everyone else get what they want out of the event. Because for so many years, you say, oh, I can't imagine you being different. And I think externally, I think I am better, and I've worked on that externally. But internally, there was a lot of turmoil back then. A lot of unhappiness, a lot of comparing myself in a negative way. Not like, oh, I love how that guy does that. Let me work on that. I'd be like, oh, that guy's so great, I could never do that. And I was just always so bummed out, about stuff like that. But
so I was with this guy Jason the other day, Jason Capital, and he had this really great line, like, people, you're going to go out and get rejected in life, but if there's going to be rejection, don't let it be self-rejection.
Right.
So don't, if you say, like, I see that girl across the street, and he actually told the story because he used to live in Santa Monica, and him and his buddy would force themselves to go down to the pier and approach, they had approached 100 girls a day. Wow. And he said, like, he eventually became a dating expert, but he hated it at the time. And then he just reframed the rejection as like, hey, it's positive when I get rejection because I'm learning. And so that's the same sort of thing. So it's so many people self-reject.
Yep.
And if anybody's going to reject you, just don't let it be yourself. So go and do the thing. And you probably will get rejected, but don't self-reject so that you never get that external opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Which is something I did for a long time too.
Totally. And I think we all imagine, the fear is always worse in your head. You think everyone's judging you more than they are. You think people want you to fail.
People are not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves.
Yeah, they're all inside their own head. Yeah, so they don't care.
You could wear, like I've gone to events where you wear the same thing for like 3 days and nobody notices it because they're all like, well, I hope nobody knows. Like, how do I look?
Right.
So don't worry about it at all.
Yeah, totally. It's always worse in your own head. And I always say that I think people actually want you to succeed more than people want you to fail.
Very much like when you're a speaker on stage. Nobody goes to an event and saying, well, I hope
this guy
speaker,
sucks.
Yeah. No, they're all sitting there going, please be good and bring something so you can just relax.
And that also shows us what's possible. Like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. If every time I see Craig speak, and this is true, you're better on stage, well, that gives me hope. I can get better every time.
Yeah.
You're just lifting other people up. And like you always say, it's not about us, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about what can you do to lift other people up and to inspire them and to show them what's possible.
And one way to lift other people up is to hang around other people who are lifting themselves up. Like last night we had dinner and you were like, well, I could do this and I could make money the easy way and have an impact the easy way, but I'm going to do it the harder way. I'm going to go and learn. I'm like, oh man, I was really hoping he was going to stop and we were going to be able to coast till we were 50 or something, but now it's like, all right, 44 to 50 is going to be crazier than 34 to 40 in terms of what can I do? How can I improve? People joke that I'm like the most disciplined man in the world. I am so lazy. I am the world's laziest person. It'd be chocolate cake for breakfast every day if I could do it. But what I realized was, as much as I wanted to be really lazy, I really wanted to improve and be better more than that. So if I'm naturally lazy, that means I have to build fences around myself to stop the temptations and that sort of stuff. And now, like, if you go, okay, well, I'm not allowed to do this, and I'm not allowed to go on social media till this, I'm not allowed to check my email until this, and I tell other people this, so if they catch me, they call me out on it. All right, well, now I can't do any of that stuff, so all I got left to do is the actual stuff that I don't want to do. So you can kind of trick yourself into being productive and successful. And I did that so much that it becomes, this thing that I now am known for.
Yeah.
So there's all those ways, and it's like, okay, listen, if I really want to learn how to tell stories, I'm going to sign up for improv class or comedy class or whatever with money that, man, that's a lot of money. I don't want to do that. Well, I'm going to put it in there. So now you're invested in yourself, and now you're forced to go. And even if you like sit there like this at the start, like I probably would, well, if you're going to go to every single one of them, they're going to break you down eventually if you have a good teacher. And the next thing you know, that thing that you wanted to have but you didn't want to do, you've got at least better. And that's how you lift yourself up.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
by hanging around the right people.
The right people, I think, is everything, because for me, I get really bummed out when I'm alone. I saw Steve Weatherford post that the other day, like his idea of hell being alone.
Oh my God, my idea of heaven is
Yeah.
well, I could put me in a hotel room for 3 days and come back and check on me, all right?
See, but that's my idea of hell as well, and I get so much energy, and I feel so much better about the world, about myself, about all the potential, the possibilities when I'm around you and Luca and Mike and Bedros, whoever it might be. And I think a lot of people sometimes, you joke around about it, but you just said it, like being around people, even though you need more alone time than I do, being around people uplifts you, and it
As long as it's after
it
12 p.m., just,
Yeah.
just everybody leave me alone before noon.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
I think that's super important, though. So that's one thing I've taken from you that does so much so now that if I don't have it when I'm traveling, my day's off. Like having your morning routine,
Right.
having your alone time, getting stuff done first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
That's crucial, because if you don't do that, if you don't take that time to take care of yourself, whatever it might be, meditate, write, work, do something, get your workout in, and you're behind the eight ball the rest of the day, you're going to have that stress and anxiety that's going to snowball. You have to be selfish in the morning.
There's a couple of reasons. One, you have those things you have to do, but then second of all, like, imagine waking up in the morning. Like, we use this analogy. Okay, everybody wakes up in the morning with like a box of Legos poured into their cranium, and it was shut, and say, hey, good luck with that. Now, if you don't have 30 minutes, 15 minutes, journaling, meditation, whatever it is to get the Legos out, and now you go to another, like through the rest of your day where it's nothing but people pouring Legos into your head, now your head's just going to explode with like Lego ideas and stuff like that. And that's why people get anxiety, is because they have too much clutter in their head. They're overwhelmed, and some of the little tools I teach, whether it's journaling or brain dump, it's, okay, the brain dump exercise, which is just write down all the things you have to do, just gets the Legos out on the table. Now, there's still a giant mess on the table, but then you can organize them into a to-do list for the next day, and now you got this crystal clear picture of what to do, and you go, oh my gosh, great. Now I can go and have dinner and be, with my girlfriend or my wife or whatever, and part of me isn't thinking about all that stuff I either have to do still before I go to bed, or that, oh my God, I'm worrying about tomorrow. No, we've solved that. We can go on and be fully present, fully focused, really great with the people that we need to be around.
Yeah.
This guy, Ian Stanley, he moved here from Austin because he really wants to do the stand-up comedy stuff. And he kind of described, is that every city can be like, imagine the analogy of a pinball machine. Well, if you're in LA, Santa Monica, where people are coming in and there's more people in that world, you're going to be pinballing off a whole lot more opportunity. Whereas if you lived in Austin and you want to be a stand-up comic, you can pinball off a few people, but not a lot. And so whatever it is you want to improve, whether it is a skill or whether it is a attitude, you need to go where there's other people that you're going to be able to run into. Like, Columbus, Ohio, powerlifting, that's the pinball center of the world, or was for a long time. So yeah, you're going to move there. You're going to try and go to Louis' gym and that sort of stuff. You want to be a comedian? Yeah, you're going to come out here. If you want to be, a tech person, you're going to go to Silicon Valley or San Francisco, and you got a pinball around there. So that's so important, not just for the skill set, but also, in my little town, if I'm pinballing off the same negative people all the time, those are the only people I run into. I'm going to the same bar and pinballing off the same machine. Well, you got to get out of that game, which is what you help people do so well in your little gang, in your group, in your events. You bring people in, and the irony in this day and age is that so many people's best friends, they've met on the internet or an event and now live hundreds of miles away. I like to say, like, I have 3 or 4 best friends, and one lives in Chino Hills and the other lives in Denver and another one lives in Florida. It's like, great. It's not like you used to be in your town. Well, yeah, I could drive 10 minutes to one, 10 minutes to the other. No, you have to go and think, how the heck can I expose myself to more of those things?
Totally, yeah. Yeah, those people aren't going to knock on your door. The people that we are fortunate enough to be around so much and that help you level up and play at a higher level, they're not going to be outside. Like, sometimes you have to do what you just said. You have to travel. You have to invest in yourself. You have to go to events. And so many times, these people do become your best friends. Like, you might be paying someone, and then that person you paid, now you're good friends with them. You're over their house hanging out. That happens all the time.
And I know what the objection is, which is money, travel, all this stuff. But we knew each other for 3 years through the internet, and we're really good friends. before we actually met in person.
Yeah.
So there's Facebook groups, there's membership sites, you got your membership site. There's all these things, all these communities. There's no excuse for it. If somebody comes up with an excuse, they're just putting an obstacle, a made-up obstacle in their way, and they have some other blockage that's stopping them from doing it.
Yeah.
Like even if you gave them the money for the plane ticket, they wouldn't go.
Right.
They'd come up with some excuse for it. So there's no reason not to put yourself in that area for being better every single day.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. So I guess that's what I would say. I guess if I went back, I'd say, all right, just start to move faster and do this faster. Because I guess I did a lot of the right things to have this conversation, but maybe we could have had this conversation 5 or 7 years ago. Probably if we would have went to more experts and instead of like, we figured out a lot on our own. We went and found some experts, but you probably could have found even better experts and accelerated your progress. And now it's easier than ever.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, is moving faster, because it seems like you and Luca and people that I'm around a lot seem to have accelerated their rate of growth recently. And moving faster, I think, is key. And what you just said is trying to figure it out on your own. I wasted so much time. I know people that come to probably my events, your events, always waste time trying to figure it out on their own, or they're deliberating. What should I do? How do I do this? Yeah, just invest in yourself. Hire somebody and execute and make faster decisions. That's key.
Because eventually you're going to get to the conclusion like, oh my gosh, I could have done this faster if I had.
Totally.
And they just spin their wheels. So but that's
and I've come to that conclusion many times.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But that's a mark of an excellent person, is a fast decision maker. So just start training yourself to be a fast decision maker and jumping into it, and realize like, an event, one of your weekends is, $1,500 or $2,500 or whatever. Like, there's no way you're not going to make that back somehow. This can't be your last dollar.
Right,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes even if it is, we know a lot of guys. I think Xander's told that story, and other people have told that story, where it is their last dollar, but they're like, I know I need help. I know I need to invest in myself. I'm going to, borrow, cheat, steal, whatever it is to get here and invest in myself. Nate Green did that in 2006. That was when we first met him.
Sweaty Nate.
Yeah, Sweaty Nate, yeah. So I think that's always, anytime you invest in yourself, I think it's always a worthwhile investment. And I wish I did more of that sooner, for sure. That's one thing I would say if we could go back.
Yeah, and so great, you're watching this video, or, get his books. Just don't not do anything.
Yeah, that's the thing, is take action. Take some kind of action.
And get around people who are doing stuff, and then it just becomes this self-fulfilling loop, and all of a sudden you're moving and growing faster. And it's hard for somebody to spend time around like these events, your events, and not get better.
Right.
Like, you'd really have to resist things. You'd have to almost go and like make it that your point.
Yeah.
And then you'd still probably improve.
Yep.
So, yeah. So the advice would just be move faster, be around the right people. The environment is so key. Be self-aware so you know what you need to improve on. Ask other people if you don't. Like, if you think you're perfect, like, what do I need to improve? Like, just go and ask some other people that whose opinion you trust. So then you can put down that path and go and just go through the cycle over and over again.
That's it. Great stuff, bro.